Well, it's been more than over a week, and I thought I'd go over your comments with the web camera. So you're gonna see a little bit of some strange editing and cuts, but that's just how it has to be. Before going into these, I thought I'd start off with the comments that had the most questions and concerns that the idea proposed. So starting off, we have, sorry, I'm gonna be pronouncing these names terribly wrong. I'm very sorry if I get them wrong. Visarugo13. I feel like this idea, while cool in concept, would be too particularly visually non-cohesive. I think this idea would only really work if you kept it to Mario-themed properties, i.e. Luigi's Mansion and Donkey Kong Country. While Nintendo Land and Mario Kart did the semi-crossover thing decently well, I feel like in a strategic game like Mario Party, this concept is way more convoluted and confusing to a general audience than simply inserting a character or stage like in Mario Kart. There's honestly just too many concepts you put on the table that for both budget and marketability reasons, I feel wouldn't go over very well aside from super core fans. We've also seen when Nintendo tries to do Mario Party things with other properties, lol. Overall, I feel like your concept has merit, but you just need to do it on a massively lower scale. See, that's the thing though, like, say for example, who do you think is going to be, who do you think is going to know about this game announcement first? Do you think it's going to be the casual audience, or do you think it's going to be the Nintendo fans who always anticipate and are always there for a Nintendo Direct, or at least as soon as they can? Yeah, the core casual fans are just going to look at this and go, oh, new Mario Party, okay, great. Us are going to be like, oh, this might be interesting. But I also feel like you need to give me more of an example of why it's too complicated. That's what I'd like to know. You say it's convoluted and confusing? I'm confused by your confusion, because I don't understand how I could have explained it better in the other video. I needed some examples as to what was confusing so I could address them. Because let's face it, Mario Party is always going to have different boards and they're always going to have different rules. So, having them based on other properties, sure, they might not understand. But it's going to be simplistic enough where it's only like a few things that the board's going to have that separate it, and every board's going to have that. Plus, doing it on a massively lower scale, like I said, we're doing it with just the ones that Nintendo in-house has. That way, the budget is still kind of there, because they can always get the rights to put in Zelda and Metroid. They can always put in the rights to do Pikmin and Star Fox. They can always do the rights to have Animal Crossing and Splatoon. But when it comes to something like Fire Emblem, when it comes to something like Pokemon, when it comes to something like Kirby, they'd have to go through a lot more red tape to get the rights to it, and that would blow up the budget. So, it's a lot easier to keep it in-house. Okay, Workdays8745. I feel like your idea is way too complicated. Think simple. Once again, I'd like to know why it's too complicated. My idea is make maps based on recent Mario characters and their games. A Mario Odyssey or Wonder map, a Luigi's Mansion map, a Peach Theater map, a custom Wario map with parts of the map decorated on WarioWare, Donkey Kong based on either a new upcoming game or Tropical Freeze. Could make some minigames based on this too, like capture some ghosts, jump over some barrels, grab a Wonder Flower, etc. Honestly, I really didn't want the boards to be tethered to one specific game in general. I will admit, if you can make a board based off of, the Floral Kingdom? I forget what the name of it is, but it is the one based in Mario Wonder, where sometimes if you stand on an event space, it's like activating a Wonder Seed, and then something in the board changes. Like, all spaces are now red, all spaces are now double the points, all spaces are now Bowser spaces, all spaces are now Star spaces! Even though I don't like the idea of having one board specifically tethered to a game because that sounds like favoritism and you're really trying to promote that game, I don't know. Something feels off about it with me unless it's a really fun idea. Plus, if we did have like a Mario Wonder map, I'd be down with having those flowers around there and just saying a bunch of things like, wow, you got a star, good job! Or like, wow, you won that duel minigame, I knew you could do it! And if you lose, oh, well, that happened. So, I could see a board like that. I think a lot of fans would love a board like that. But I also think we could also see a bunch of other maps that also have the essence of those franchises. And then Sean Bird wrote, I don't think this idea is bad, but I don't think it should happen for Mario Party. It feels a bit too much like a fan wiki creation for my taste. Although with that rumor you talked about, who really knows? If something like this were to happen, I think it would suit a combination of Wii Party and Nintendo Land better, as having Mii's cosplaying as other Nintendo characters would be less jarring than Mario and crew, in my opinion. And it could better fit the dress-up theme if that's what you'd like to do. Yes, but think about it from Nintendo's perspective. What do you think is going to sell more? Wii Party or Mario Party? The answer, Mario Party. And I'm just saying, Picture it. Luigi in Link's green tunic. In a simplistic form, not overly decorated, just with the cap, the tunic, pretty much it. Doesn't need the sword, doesn't need the shield. Also for the counter of the earlier about it not being visually cohesive, Meta52711 did right. I guess it could make sense they did do something like this in Mario Kart 8. And that's what I'm saying. There's a way you can do it. It's just difficult for a lot of us to visualize because we need more of a grounded concept of how it would all look together. Honestly, I feel like just having it look like it was all constructed in a cheap playstyle set, I think that would just be hilarious and fun. But let's just get to our next comment, who I will go into a great more detail because they went into a great more detail. So, up next we have Advocate. I'm someone who regularly daydreams about all my favorite things crossing over, aside from Smash, but I could easily see this concept falling into the exact same trap as Nintendo Land. Great fan service if you're a fan of all these properties, but ultimately a novelty at best. To be fair, Nintendo Land was actually a really fun game if you were playing it with multiple people. If as a single-player game, it does fall short, a lot. Multiplayer, much like Mario Party, it feels like it's a necessity. Mario Party works on its own because Mario as a brand has universal mainstream appeal. You can absolutely get away with being a Mario fan without being a fan of any other Nintendo franchises. So when you put in all these other franchises and make an entire game around that concept, it doesn't have as much mainstream appeal as Mario does on its own. Smash Bros. Is a completely different story altogether. The only people who would get hyped to see something like a Star Fox board or a Pikmin board in Mario Party are the existing fans of those franchises. The casuals who only play Mario most likely won't care. Exactly. They won't care. This isn't gonna be like... This is... How do I explain this? When I played Nintendo Land, and I played it with my nephew, who was very young at the time, we played the Pikmin board. He absolutely loved that area. That was his favorite. And that got him interested in the Pikmin series. And I feel like because Mario is the more universally renowned one, they won't look at it. They'll just look at, oh, it's a new Mario Party. Then they'll get to the boards and be like, oh, it becomes more like a brand recognition sort of thing. And then from there, if people really like that board, they might check it out. They might check out those series, which I think is what Nintendo would want to do. They would use the most widely marketable appeal to it and then say, here, maybe you might like this game. Maybe you might like this franchise. Here's a board that gives the essence and the feel, well, not to a one-to-one degree, but at least an idea of what you can expect. Like a high difficulty board for Donkey Kong Country, or the world traveling of Zelda, or the team-based multiplayer of Splatoon, or the different objectives in Star Fox. Like, just to put it in perspective, you remember the satellite level? It's like, okay, do you take out the satellite or do you go help your decoys, aka your teammates? Actually, no, it represents Star Fox 2 and Star Fox Command a lot better than it does those, because, oh, which objective am I going to go after? To be fair, though, there are plenty of people who like Mario Party purely for how it plays and the kind of competitive, friendship-destroying party atmosphere this game's design creates regardless of whether or not they play any Mario games. So if the rules and designs of the boards themselves are simple enough to understand and are fun, an argument could be made that this game concept could be fun even for people who don't know the source material. That's exactly what I'm going for. And this might be the only comment that I'm going to read that's long enough in length. Also, I know you explicitly stated this would not be a Super Smash Party and would not feature playable characters from other Nintendo franchises, but let's be honest, if this game were to actually get made by Nintendo, the comparisons would be there from day one. If you couldn't play as Link or Samus or Fox in the hypothetical Mario Party crossover, people would be extremely quick to point that out, that omission. They would immediately question why that wasn't the direction the devs went in. Because I'm just going to stop right there and just say, in all honesty, it's because for this idea, I only want to do it once. I don't want to have this continually come up. I don't want to keep having ideas for a Zelda map, or a Donkey Kong Country map, or a Metroid map. However, I would be okay with it if they did have DLC for it. And sometimes, maybe we just need that. The execution of it is what's really going to make or break it. Remember how Mario and Rabbids got leaked and everybody hated the idea? And then we saw the gameplay itself, the trailer, and everybody fell in love with it. Sometimes we just need the right trailer, the right execution, the right way to get the idea across, and then people are fully on board. Like this example, Pippin 343D or 0? I'm sorry, but when I'm reading these comments, it's very small. it's very difficult to see everything clearly. I know you said no characters from that series, but it would be cool if a guest star or the party host is the part of the franchise, like if Tom Nook hosted Animal Crossing, or General Pepper hosted Star Fox, like in Mario Party 4, just something that would make Toad and Toadette playable again. The guest star of said series can be playable as long as there is an appropriate series. I'm not sure if I really want that. And in general, I still wanted to keep to my guns and say, I don't want any of them. However, Pippin is in the Discord server and made some mock-up images like these two, and that kind of won me over. I'm like, okay, you know what? Guest stars as hosts? I'm on board with that. I think that would be pretty cool. And the last one that has any kind of concerns comes from Cameron Fulkerson 7134. I think your idea is quite interesting for DLC, like Mario Kart 8 DLC. I don't think its own game would work well. Wouldn't mind your ideas working for the base game boards, but just for Mario games like Mario Galaxy board going over different planets, kinda surprising that this has not happened too much outside of Barrel's Out of DK's board in Mario Party 8. Yeah, I mean, okay. To be fair, I could see it where they have a Mario Party game where it's based on those, the basic ones, where you get the Mario, you get Luigi's Mansion, Yoshi's Island, Donkey Kong Country, WarioWare, and then for DLC, you can have Zelda, Metroid, Star Fox, Pikmin, Animal Crossing, Splatoon, F-Zero. I would be okay with that idea. Of course, yeah, you would still only get, like, maybe the core Nintendo fans that would just pick it up. The casuals might not. But then again, you never know. Casuals, I don't know, do they really buy the DLC for anything? Hard to say. But if that meets halfway in the middle just to get this idea going, I'd be all up for it. But then again, this idea probably will never happen. Also, yes, like I said, even if I were to just bring back these boards, I only want them brought back as DLC. I only want this idea done once, and then maybe bring the boards back as DLC. Some people just aren't that picky. Like this one, SSTTEEV. My opinion is, I don't care what maps there are, just bring back Bomb Basketball! See, some fans will play on anything, as long as the right minigame is there. And if you want some more examples as to fans not being that picky, well, here we go. Green Toad 64. Maybe bring back the car back only for 1 or 2 boards. I feel like the car would have to become a fan favorite feature if it was just for one board instead of making all the boards themed around it. Chris the Leviat Man, I'm sorry how to say your name. I am sorry. 7080. Me and my brother actually liked Mario Party 9. Personally, I would like to see the car mechanic return, but as a separate mode from the main board game. Unpopular opinion, I guess, but I can see the car working better than how it did in 9 and 10. Just saying, I have not played 9 or 10. I don't know much about the car other than most people really hated it. However, if it wasn't a forced feature, then I think people might be okay with it. Or if you just had that one board where it's like, yeah, it's a car. At least that way, when you've played the other boards to death, you can be like, okay, fine, we'll play this one because we want to play Mario Party, but we don't want to play the same way we've been playing every other time. Also, Green Toad's idea for some of the costumes, Waluigi could be wearing Jimmy T's outfit. Tell me you can't visualize that, just tell me you can't. And if Pauline was playable, she could cosplay Captain Syrup. Okay. Now, if I was able to show off some comments that had some general concerns and questions, I thought it was also fair just to briefly show off some comments that were all in favor of this idea. So, I'm sorry guys, I'm not going to be able to read all of yours, but I appreciate the support. So, thank you all for that. And with that said, let's get to some ideas for some actual boards that give me a bit more detail. I did get a number of comments that went over an idea for what an Animal Crossing board could be. There's a lot of them to go over, so I'm just going to show these up real quick, and then I'm going to go over the 2 ideas I really enjoyed. So, up first, we have the Formidable Dan, my concept for an Animal Crossing map. Each player starts with a house and are tasked with increasing their happy home rating by purchasing room and furniture upgrades with coins from an NPC. At the end of the game, that rating decides how many stars each player gets, before star bonus. You could also have an NPC that sabotages house ratings by putting weeds in their yard or roaches in the house. Ugh. Maybe also include another NPC dressed as red that sells upgrades that have a chance to be fakes and lower your rating rather than increase it. Okay, I'm not sure about the ones that decrease it, but I do like the idea of, hey, you're gonna decorate your house, and the better rating you get, the more stars you have. Your rating is your stars. And if some items are worth more star power or more ratings than others, but it also costs more expensive, then I think that also kind of works out, and people can just go around the board as they please. At that point, it just becomes who's going to be better at doing the minigames and who's going to be better at getting the other stuff. However, if you do have that, oh, you know what? Maybe, if you had the NPC that sabotaged it, if that was being done by the other players who paid them to do that. Now that could work. And the next one comes from, I'm very sorry, Adalene Fellini? I think I got an idea for Animal Crossing. The board is a town with vital stores on relatively random spaces, like within a relative area of 5 potential spaces. Coins are bells, and rather than owning deeds for stars, the equivalent is a community of villager friends. These can be earned by either spending bells on something they want, or taking a longer route to do a favor. Stopping by the Able Sisters can adjust the costume of your character within certain limits for, say, about 5 bells per edition/change. Copper and Booker could have their guard uniforms from Wild World/City Folk and guide the player to a random villager for 10 bells. But this is just me spitballing ideas here. Don't know how well they put this in practice. No, I kind of like this idea. You're using the coins, or bells, to buy gifts for other people on the board, the NPCs, and those act as your star points. It would be how competitively friendly can you get? I like that twist. The only thing is, I'm not sure if people would actually spend bells to adjust their costume, because in Mario Party, those coins you can't just throw away. You need them. However, if you were to, say, get them the material to change those costumes, and then because of that, it gives them the friend point, and then you can actually change your costume if you want to. That would work. Next up, we have Fiction Fan Zero. Okay, so here are my thoughts for a Hyrule theme stage. One set of lucky spaces lets you pick between 3 treasure chests. One is coins/rupees, 5, 10, or 20 at a time. One is a random dice block, and the final is unique to this stage, a piece of heart. If you're able to come back and get a second piece of heart, you'll get a free star! Seems broken, I know, but seeing as how you have to land on the lucky space and guess a 1 in 3 chance correctly twice? I see where you're getting at. One set of unlucky spaces would be placed near a cuckoo farm. Ooh, land on one and the cuckoos will take away your coins. Ooh, I can see that. This is more an overarching mechanic than a specific one, but one lucky space would take you to a solo minigame where you just have to grab as many coins as possible. Incidentally, this lucky space will be outside Ashika's shrine from Breath of the Wild. Finally, one thing I really loved about Mario Party 9, don't judge me, was the boss battles. If they wanted to bring those back, then one possible boss would be against Ganon. You know, Bowser cosplay or the real thing. I imagine an archery minigame with light arrows. Left stick moves your character, right stick aims, and ZZR fires. Ganon would fight back, though every hit costs you coins. Whoever gets the most hits before the HP bar hits 0 wins. When I hear the 3 treasure chests, I actually think more of the Super Mario Bros. 3 Toad House than I do for this. So, I don't know if that really feels like it fits. But the idea of, yeah, watch out for the cuckoo farm, yeah, I could see that being on the Zelda map. Just be very, very careful. Next up, Grand Scarporo. Did I say that right? I'm sorry. Although I haven't played Ocarina of Time, I do love the gimmick the Zelda map you proposed. However, I also feel a board revolving around the Zonai powers from Tears of the Kingdom could also be an insane in a fun way. For example, some event spaces could have the Ultra Hand carry you to a random space, or some other event spaces could be like Fuse with you being forced to follow the same path as another, randomly select a player for 2 turns or 3 turns. To be fair, when I'm looking back on that one, sadly they only did like the past and future thing once. And if they were going to do something with a different board, it probably would be the Dark World, because that at least did show up in at least 2 Zelda games. A Link to the Past and A Link Between Worlds. So, I just thought Ocarina of Time would be more iconic, but the idea they'd probably go with Dark World if this were to ever become a thing. That being said, Zonai powers for event spaces. I could see that, to an extent. It just feels like you're going to be... I just don't want to... have all these different Zelda ideas meshed into one, especially when they feel like they only come from one franchise. The Cuckoo Farm that we mentioned earlier, that's in almost everything. That is one of the most iconic enemies and animals you'll see in the Zelda series, so I feel like that's just so universal, it's so iconic, you can put that in any Zelda map. Most of them, sorry. Dark Fallful X. How have I been subbed all these years and have never seen this series? Reminds me of Forbidden Fruit. Okay, I've actually done, in the last 10 years, I don't think I've done one Forbidden Fruit video, but I've actually done a few of the What's Your Opinion videos. So I have no idea how you remember Forbidden Fruit, but not this. Also, this actually was gonna be a Forbidden Fruit series, but I really wanted to see your guys' comments on that and make a video on it. Continuing. Anyways, I think a Metroid board should be based on either Metroid 2 or Prime 1, preferably the latter due to its sales, remaster, and more distinct locations. The stars would be Chozo artifacts, and there would be a finite amount. The artifacts would all spawn at the start of the game. It would be based on either the Chozo Ruins or Phendrana Drifts. If you were doing a Metroid 2 theme, you could catch, not kill, Metroids, with larger evolutions being worth more. You could have a Morph Ball item that would be similar to the Mini Mushroom from Mario Party 4. It would go through certain paths. Okay, see, I'm gonna be honest right there. I kind of don't want the items to be like the items from the games. We can leave that alone. That's where I think that might become a little too complicated and might throw some players off. Just saying. We already have event spaces and how gimmicks work on the map. I think we don't really need the items. However, I do love your costume ideas. The plumbers would be the Galactic Rangers, Daisy could have the power suit, Peach and Rosalina could be in a different power suit or in a Zero suit. Maybe if it was like the biker suit from Mario Kart 8, that could work. Yoshi and Birdo could dress up like the Shine Spark from Super Metroid, and DK could be dressed like the Wall Jump Monkey from Super. I am losing my voice here! Ugh. Anyway, yes, I do like those ideas. And Metroid was one of the hardest ones I had trying to get a board idea going for. But I can honestly say, the idea for Prime, getting the artifacts, that could work. Even if you don't make it directly based on Prime, you could have it loosely based on that. And there have been other Metroid games, basically the Prime series, where you're trying to find keys or artifacts or something to get through to the final area. So that one I could see working. Arrow Dragon 2. Maybe F-Zero could also work for a star-stealing board. The machines are pit stops and you pay money for 1, 2, or 3 boost canisters. But the kicker is that the machines can only travel on a set path. So it becomes this game where everyone is constantly planning their movements and where a bad roll at a bad time can be greatly punished. Perhaps the machines can also lead to parts of the map you can't reach otherwise. That could be good or bad, adding more strategy to it. Well, that's why I did bring up like the boost over ramps to get the shortcuts. Like if you roll a certain amount of spaces, you can make that jump. If you can't, don't do it then. However, if it's on a fixed path and you can steal stars, I don't know, man. That kind of sounds like whoever's in first is always gonna have the stars stolen from them. So you almost never want to go first. And at that point, it becomes the antithesis of what F-Zero is. Because nobody wants to go in front if you're going to get stolen. If you can have it where you can have branching paths and splitting shortcuts, that could work, to an extent. But F-Zero was never really about customization outside of max speed, acceleration, the garage part of F-Zero GX, and I don't know if the other GBA game had it. The one that was based on the anime, I didn't get that one. You'll have to explain to me more about paying for the boost canisters. And does it still resemble if you're trying to finish a lap, or is it just steal the stars in general and it just keeps going on for a certain amount of turns? Retro Beetle. Oh my gosh, I am so sorry I can't read all of this. This would take way too much time and my voice is going as it is and we still have a number of comments to get to. So, tell you what, I'm just gonna read the Ice Climber part because so far, not a whole lot of people have written one for that, so let's get into it. Ice Climbers is a 2v2 board that splits teams up into 2 separate boards. In order to win stars, both teammates need to collect 1 half or a 2-piece star-shaped puzzle. If one player buys 2 halves, they still won't have any stars until their partner buys at least 1 half from their side. Oh my gosh. Oh, you have to play with someone you absolutely trust. Event spaces and items will, of course, make things easier for your teammate or make things harder for the other team. For something really interesting, maybe minigames can still be Battle Royale style. If it comes down to 2 players who are on the same team, the minigame isn't over until one of them wins and gets all the coins. I don't know about that. It's like, why would you do that? This is a, like I said, this is a mode where you absolutely have to trust your teammate. And Mario Party barely lets you do that. I feel like if it's in a 2v2 board and the 2 people are still there, they need to have it. Teammates Teammates will have to decide who needs the coins more, and other players can try to sabotage the enemy. I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like you need to, on a on a team-based map, I feel like it needs to be team-based all the way. You can't just screw over the other player or, bad things will happen. Space Soccer Cowboy 6091. It's shockingly weird we haven't had a Woohoo Island or a Mii game-based map at all. Heck, Mii's have only been used in the Mario Party series within side modes in Mario Party 8. The costume idea you brought up could be used to customize your Mii, or even give hats outfits for the Mario gang themselves. Okay, I did rent 8, but I'd never really played that much of it, so I didn't really even know you could play with your Mii's in that one. So, hey, just saying, if they did bring the Mii's back, which I don't think they will, but if they ever did, yes, giving them the costumes, I would definitely see that happening. I think that would make a lot of sense. As for a map, it would be cool to see a mix between Board Game Island from Wii Party alongside the iconic Woohoo Island map. The medals you get in various Wii games could be stars. Also, if a dual space were to be landed on, the characters could do a quick bowling minigame, a sword fight, or a shooting range. I get what you're going for there. And I also think that really works. A Woohoo Island map. We've already seen this numerous times in the Mario Kart series. Why not put it in Mario Party? Up next, we have Spazio Nero X. I think I said that right. Maybe for more retro or one-off type games, there could be a somewhat of a mashup board where each corner is a different game, at least for ones that don't have enough material for a whole board on their own. I imagine something like the Duck Hunt field in one corner, leading to the Wrecking Crew skyscraper on the way to a Pilot Wings landing strip. Sorry about that. I don't really know what the main mechanic of the board could be, but it's a pretty good way to represent lesser known stuff. It would kind of be the same idea as when Smash had the Famicom medleys, instead of fully remixing all those other shorter and more obscure songs on their own, if that makes any sense. Yes, I do know exactly what you're talking about. I wasn't really a fan of that, but some songs I understood why they did it. Other songs, I still question why you did that. But for this one, I do understand what you're getting at. Say you get to the Wrecking Crew skyscraper. Then it goes to a field, that's Duck Hunt. Then it goes to a cliff, that's Balloon Fighter. Then you go to like a little island out there, and that's Pilot Wings. I could see that. I think that could be an interesting board map of all these retro stuff, of all these old retro games. So, yes, I do like that idea. Boy Dixon Entertainment. I kind of mentioned this already in an earlier conversation that I could maybe see Isabelle and only Isabelle playable in a Mario Party game, possibly to make up for the blunder that was Amiibo Festival. Ooh, good luck with that one. Plus, compared to any other Nintendo franchise, Animal Crossing would look the most natural next to the Mario characters. I 100% agree, you can't just take Link or Samus and put them on a tropical island or a birthday cake and expect that to work. I will also say that I'm intrigued by the retro game idea, but a number of them like Balloon Fight or possibly Ice Climber, I could see working slightly better as minigames. A single level in either of those games can usually be done fairly quickly after all. Okay, yes. Once again, it's like, you can't just put in Link and Samus and have them on these party boards. So, for those who would really want that Smash Mario Party idea, no, I just can't see it happening. That's why I think the costumes just work so much better. We're all here to have fun and mess each other up, not fight each other. Well, kind of fight, but not like Smash. So, yeah. But then again, if we did give those costumes to just the Mii characters, I think we'd have fewer problems. Because, let's face it, in Mario Party, it doesn't matter who you play as. It really doesn't. There's no stats, there's no nothing. You play as these characters because you like these characters. You don't really get to use their abilities. It's not like, oh, you're faster because you picked Toad, or you're stronger because you picked Donkey Kong or Wario. There's nothing, they're all equal. So, what's the point in playing as these characters if you can't use any of their abilities? That's why I feel like, just make it fun in a way of dress up. Either the main characters of Mario, or bring the Mii's back and have them do it. And I'd be okay with that. Maybe have them both dressed up, who knows? Whichever one looks better. The Mr. L01. Okay, so Zoom Zykes... Did I say that right? I think so. Identifying luck video for Mario Party 8 got me thinking, what if there was a random board, like King Boo's Haunted Hideaway, but it clearly spelled out the mechanics and made deducing the star location a part of the board? Think Mario Party meets Clue, just with finding out the star location instead of finding out who the... That sort of idea might work well as a Lost Woods board or something like that. It's the kind of thing that could go wonderfully or horribly depending on how you execute it. And I have to say, I love that idea for a Lost Woods board. And in all honesty, it's like the thing I don't like about Mario Party, and I think we can all have this little tiny gripe, is we know where the star is, and if you get there before somebody, and everybody's trying to go after you, nobody goes off the beaten path. Nobody. But if nobody knows where the star is, everybody goes off in their own little direction. And at that point, it's the true essence of Mario Party. Pure luck-based. Yes, there is a lot of skill in Mario Party, but this would be a board where it's like, where's the star? Maybe there might be a little teeny tiny hint that gives it away? I mean, yes, if we had to condense the Zelda map to something like this, I'm all on board. 100%. Blah6 wrote a completely different idea for what they want to do with Mario Party. Mario Party, party round the clock. Bowser uses time travel to win and beat Mario. Mario and friends follow after him and end up in different parts in Mario history. 1-1, Dinosaur Island or Yoshi's Island, Peach's Castle, as well as part of party boards like Sweet Dream, Pyramid Park, and Waluigi Island examples. Gameplay and items could be a fusion of 3 and 7 and Superstars. Character spaces return from 7. Minigames will be a mix of ones from Mario Party Past and ones themed to Mario's past in general. Maybe bring back Mario Party IQ, but for Mario Trivia. Music for boards can be changed, as can the boatload of costumes for each character. NES, SNES, N64, GameCube, power-up costumes, and more. I'm not sure how I feel about that one. It kind of feels like we're already kind of doing that, but without the story context behind it. Superstars is already bringing back the past board games, and it feels like that's where it needs to be. Yes, you can bring back some, or not bring back, but you can introduce those other concepts more of boards based on the other games, but as I keep saying, I do want it to be based, or at least focused as the essence of the series instead of just self-promoting one game in general. Unless there's only one game like the retro games that we've brought up before. So, not sure how I feel about this one. If you can tweak it, you might have something else going on there. At this point, it just feels like what we already have, but it's missing the DLC to give us boards that are based directly on Mario games. Alex S. Warrior 254. I actually had a fun idea for a Punch-Out inspired board. The board would be heavily influenced by the minigames. Each player would have a record by their HUD that shows how many minigames they won or lost. Dual minigames will be rampant, but you can also compete against NPCs to try to beat a set score in a one-player minigame. The 2 players with the best records by the end will have a final duel to determine the winner. Also, the playable characters will have boxing attire on. The board itself will have plenty of boxing rings, but also have other sections based around the various countries the Punch-Out boxers are from, like France, Ireland, Spain, etc. The only thing I'm going to say is I don't like the idea of it coming down to a final showdown, because that just feels like all that hard work you did up to now can now be determined by rock, paper, scissors. However, if you have it where the final showdown is based on, like, say you've won a certain amount of minigames, that now increases the amount of health and strength you're going to have in that final duel. That way, if it's really close, it becomes a far more interesting matchup, but the guy who's put in a lot more work will have a bigger advantage. I'm still not sure if they would go through with that idea, but I feel like that's the only way you can do it where it's not completely won by luck. Otherwise, what's the point in even playing that board? You'd have to make it like the shortest turn, like 1, because we're going to determine a winner right away. Nothing else matters. I'll say this though, maybe in the event of a tie, which almost never happens, that's how it could be decided. Maybe. Just maybe. Zachariko wrote, honestly, you don't even have to go too far outside of Mario's series to find a cool idea. Ending a game like this off by unlocking wickedly hard boards based on Rainbow Road would be amazing. My vote would be for Bowser's Castle, but Rainbow Road also works, and is also one of the 2 most iconic Mario Kart maps, or courses. Or maybe have a board based on Dr. Mario, or even Paper Mario, if we can get intelligent systems to sign off on it. Or even Super Mario RPG, if they can do that. Still not sure how many legal hurdles there are for that one. There's a lot. and it's called Square Enix. And of course, I love to see some boards based on Super Mario Bros. Wonder. The Talking Flower commentary would be hysterical in Mario Party, and depending on how well it does, maybe even Princess Peach Showtime. I'm sorry, I think I had your idea in mind when I brought that up earlier, but this is where the idea did come from. And yeah, if you make it just based on the Floral Kingdom with the flowers there and the Wonder Seed that transforms everything, go for it. Go for it. All that being said, the only way I will ever accept a Donkey Kong board is if the stars are replaced by golden bananas, and whenever a player buys one, we hear, "Oh, banana." Then I guess we're never getting a Donkey Kong Country map, because Nintendo has done basically all they can to distance themselves from a lot of what Rare did. With a few exceptions. But a lot of things they've tried not to do again, and "Oh, banana" is sadly one of them. Alberto Tierres wrote, "How about a Mario Party with holiday-themed boards based on Christmas, 4th of July, Easter, Halloween, Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, and the final board being themed around Chinese New Year?" Okay, before we go any further on that one, can you see one issue that might pop up? This feels like it's more directly focused on the American-themed holidays, which, as an American, I love it, but that's not going to go over very well for other countries. However, if you include other celebrations from other countries in here, then you might be able to get away with that. Obviously, we can have Christmas and Halloween in there, as those are like the most worldwide renowned ones. Everybody in the world, or mostly everybody in the world, knows about those. Not everybody celebrates 4th of July. But if you put Cinco de Mayo on there along with 4th of July, there we go. You could also put in stuff from the other countries, like, Boxing Day in Canada? You could have Kids Day from Japan, which is an actual thing. This way you can actually learn about other holidays from other countries. And yes, your idea based on costumes for those characters also really works, like Mario in a Santa outfit. It's so easy to picture. Okay, two more. Two more comments and we're done. Two more comments and we're done. My voice is giving out. I'm gonna need a lot of help with this name. Zelrons4831. I'm not sure if I said that right. That's my best guess. I don't have a ton of ideas for it, but I think a Kid Icarus board could be interesting. Hearts could replace coins as currency, the sacred treasures could be stars, and Bowser could dress up like Hades. For special events on the board, an eggplant wizard could turn players into eggplants and force them to backtrack. And reset bombs could send players back to start, or maybe even reset everyone's hearts to 0. Ooh. Palutena could grant the players temporary flight and warp them to the sacred treasures. I feel like there's more elements that could be added, but that's all I can come up with. No. When it comes to the boards, you do want to have only like a few elements to it, and this, I think, would be enough. I feel like there's enough here to work with. Now we just need to come up with a design for the board, and I think that would really work. Not sure about Palutena guiding you there unless you get like a special event. But in any case, I'm not sure. Or maybe it could be like a shortcut, where it's like if you... Remember the pirate board? Where the shark will take you to the other island if you land on it? Same thing, but it has to be for Palutena. And our final comment comes from Wharton25. A part of me wonders if they could do a heroes versus villains ordeal. Basically, good and bad characters would be able to use different items and trigger different events on the board. If they brought back DK spaces, they could be bad for the bad characters, whilst Bowser spaces are good for them. Perhaps basic items like mushrooms could be available for both, but items like the golden mushroom could be exclusive for heroes, whilst the mischievous items, like the cursed mushroom, could be exclusive for the villains. I also think it would be cool if they expanded on the solo mode for Mario Party 6. What if instead of just hoping you get the right number, the end of the board has a boss minigame which you must win in order to keep the prizes you've earned? Maybe you could have a certain number of hearts, which you start with and you lose if you fail to beat a minigame. You could also take a cue from Mario Party 7's team mode and throw in a 2-player option. Oh, so they've actually done 2-player modes before? Or, wait, have they done team-based, or is it more like the dual minigames from Mario Party 3? I'm not sure. Third and finally, if generic enemies like Koopas and Boos were made playable again, what if you could customize them with accessories and or change their color to give them a bit more personality? Perhaps you could buy accessories with the stars or coins you earn on the boards. Oh, you mean like the... not the item, but the shop that's in like the main menu of the game? I can see that. Honestly, they could do that with the costumes as well. So if you really wanted to, maybe have like a bunch of different costumes for different characters. That's an interesting way to do it. I know this isn't based on the general idea, but this is an idea to have for Mario Party, so that's worth going over. And with that, finally done with this. I've actually done about 3 or 4 retakes on this. Last time I did this, my voice sounded so congested. It's starting to get there right now. My voice is so tired. So I'm very sorry that my voice is starting to break down. But I got this video done. This is not the 16-year anniversary video I wanted to do for YouTube, but it is coming out for that. I will still do a 16-year video based on the 15-year video I was supposed to do last year. Only now I have a much better way of doing it, which is kind of like this. So, with that said, I will see you guys in the next video, and I'd like to thank you all again for your comments. Thank you all for your support, and thank you for those who still wrote questions and concerns about this, because, hey, it's important to iron out those little details. That way, we get a much better picture of what we could have. It's probably not, this is an idea that's probably never going to happen, but who knows? Maybe Nintendo is still watching my channel. We can always hope. But I wouldn't be surprised if this never happened. So with that said, I'll see you guys in another video, hopefully very soon, and hopefully my voice has recovered. Later, everyone!